Hello, everyone, and hope everyone's having a great day today. We have another sort of active day across the mid-Atlantic states and the southeast here, especially in the southern plains, where we do have that moderate risk in place. Um, Crazy weather day expected across there, um, which I will sort of briefly talk about here in a second. But this video is mainly focusing on the risk here on the East Coast, and it's not much of a significant risk, um, but I think it is worth touching over. And I think the northern parts of the slight risk have some interesting characteristics. So I'll look into that for a little bit. But again, nothing crazy today. Mainly a damaging wind gust, especially down south here, Raleigh, Wilmington south. Up north, sort of Raleigh northward, damaging winds, and then maybe a tornado or two is possible. Um, Hail shouldn't be a huge risk today across the slight risk, but um, a nice 1.5 inch report could be possible in the strongest storms. The updrafts today could be fairly large, so would not shock me. So let's look at our risks here. Okay, here's our tornado risk, and we do have mainly across just Eastern Virginia here into Southern Maryland. We do have that kind of sort of bullseye for that 5% risk, and we do have a 2% risk sort of surrounding it. Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Virginia Beach, and that 2% risk, Richmond, Virginia, and that 5%. But yeah, really far northeastern North Carolina, straight north through up through central Maryland, that tornado risk will be present today. Here is our wind risk here, and we just have that broad sort of 15% risk and that entire slight risk. Further west, we can see a 45% and 30% hatched for pretty much of Oklahoma, much of pretty much all of northern Texas. So that is a significant wind event is going to occur today across that region there, up to 100-mile-per-hour winds, 5-inch hail possible as well. We can sort of see that here. Huge 30% risk, significant as well. And we do have that sort of 15% risk where that tornado bullseye kind of presented itself. Um, that's where we can see maybe your 1.5-inch report of hail. So yeah, just kind of stay aware. Virginia Beach and Richmond. Not really sure what happened there. Sorry, but yeah, that's the hail risk. And then 5% risk, sort of very isolated for much of everyone else. So here's our surface map here, and we can sort of see we have our shortwave across the Ohio Valley. This has sort of moved eastward already from this map near Columbus. Um, and as this moves east, we're going to see some um, training and storms, especially across central West Virginia up through um, the Ohio Valley and the DMV region. So by afternoon, a lot of these storms will be sort of slower moving and just training over each other, possible for some flooding. But this is the short wave across the Ohio Valley as it moves east. This is what will bring the severe weather across the mid-Atlantic and southeast as well. Um, as this moves east, of course, that DMV region, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia region, that bullseye, it's going to be closer to that surface low. It's going to have much better turning in the winds. to deep layer shear as well to sort of have that tornado risk. So I will sort of point that out in some soundings here soon. But this is what we have for the most part, sort of a pretty active next few days, especially across the southeast again and the Ohio Valley too. It's going to be fairly busy the next 2 or 3 days. So here's our our current satellite here. I'm going to sort of do this one. I think should be good here. So across our main tornado risk area here, we do see some clearing starting to take place. We see a good amount of clearing heading into the region. Much of North Carolina and parts of eastern South Carolina have had sunshine really all morning, destabilizing that atmosphere. A few more hours of sun will um, definitely fuel the atmosphere enough to fuel these storms even further. And we can see these storms um, moving into central South Carolina here. We can see the tops of these storms. Um, Pretty decent tops from satellite, so um, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, a lot of clearing out here so far, and that's just going to help these storms sort of strengthen, especially if the sun can sort of stay out the next 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, so here we have our surface observations here, and we'll be just sort of focusing on through kind of southern Maryland all the way down through kind of southern South Carolina here. I do want to mention here, um, again, this is the risk for today. I do think the greater damaging wind, just overall severe weather risk today is going to be along the coast, more closer to along the coast, especially South Carolina, southward, even parts of North Carolina here, Wilmington. Along the coast, your best bet. Of course, um, you'll have your chance for scattered wind gusts and whatnot, sort of further inland. Even central South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina can see a a pretty nasty storm today. But I do think the threat, kind of as you get closer to the coast, it does sort of grow a bit more. Better sort of cape, better just ingredients overall. Just more time to destabilize as well. So I do. I don't know if I mentioned that. I don't think I did, but closer to the coast, I think your threat will be higher, highest. So again, surface observations back to that. We can see low 70s across sort of southern Maryland, parts of north central Virginia here, east central also, and then southern Virginia we get the mid 70s, and then we can get more mid 70s across North Carolina, and then some 80s South Carolina. Our dew points for the most part look like they're staying um, in the 70s across much of northern North Carolina, Virginia, and then some mid 60s, and then 70s again. So kind of a mixed bag through here. But here's our H triple R. The same time, the same valid time as our surface observations. Um, so where we have our low 70s, southern Maryland, east central sort of Virginia. We get our mid 70s, southern Virginia, northern North Carolina, through much of North Carolina. And we do get some of those 80s along the coast and further sort of south um, into the Georgia, South Carolina line. So temperatures doing HRR doing very well with temperatures. Let's look at our dew points here. We do have that sort of kind of mixed bag here of dew points where we have the 70s across Virginia, eastern Virginia, northern North Carolina. Um, we have a 75, a 74 dew point. So pretty good doing maybe a degree or two cooler on the dew points, but overall, really good, really good. And then we can see that sort of mid 60s break in through southern South Carolina here, where we have 68, 67, 66 here, and we can see 65, 68. We can see that sort of correlate well, and then we go back into the 70s um, in southern South Carolina. So HRR are doing very well um, with observations. Um, Much better than I think it was a video ago where it was off a few degrees, pretty much on everything. So um, it has a good handle on what's going on. I think it also is important to see if it does have that sort of convection out west, and it sort of does. Yeah, we do have that convection kind of entering central South Carolina through Georgia, as we see uh, right here. So again, HRR doing a good job. We also do see some scattered convection already across, or isolated, I'd rather say, across southern Virginia, southeastern Virginia. But yeah, HRR doing well. I think it's time we kind of dive in into some of the sort of ingredients here. We'll look into some of the soundings as well. I'll dive into some of those. But first, we'll start actually with our dew points here, just to get an overall idea of just how our dew points will sort of pan out for the rest of the day. Um, so this is by about lunch hour here, 12, 1 o'clock. And we can see we can see low 70s pretty much from that central Virginia, East Central Virginia down through the border here of South Carolina, Georgia. And we can see pretty much low 70s everywhere in that slight risk. Along the coast here, we can see maybe 72 to 75, some mid 70s. So dew points are going to be definitely greater along the coast as we move on throughout the evening here. This is by about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And again, low 70s across much of the risk area. We do have some, maybe some mid 60s getting mixed in. Not as 70% or 70 degrees, I should say, are not as widespread as they are a few hours, like around this time here. But as we move on throughout the evening, these dew points by like you know, 9 o'clock, they'll sort of just stabilize and, or not really stabilize, but they'll sort of sit there and stabilize as in not really uh, move in degree wise. So very muggy, very sticky sort of dew points. Of course, sufficient enough to um, help with severe weather. So back to our surface cape here. Um, by midday here, we do have a nice sort of swath of across eastern South Carolina, much of North Carolina, southern Virginia of around 2,000 joules per kilogram for the most part. Seems fairly likely. We can see where our convection is here across South Carolina, but out ahead of it, 2,500. And along the coast here, we can see also around 2,500 joules per kilogram. So, again, just closer to the coast, I think we will have that better instability. Look at our mixed layer cape here. This is around 1 o'clock this afternoon, and again, your best mixed layer cape is going to be across North Carolina, where 2,000 joules per kilogram are possible, pockets of it. And then we do have pockets of it along the coast of South Carolina and North Carolina here. Let's take a look at our bolt shear here, and Yeah, by this is around 2 or 3 o'clock, and we can see our surface low would be situated right about here, and our tornado risk sort of in this area here, um, where we have 35, 40 knot winds possible, and even 45 to 50 knot winds, southern Maryland. Um, Further south you go, the weaker these bulk shear winds get. But we do have some nice bulk shear values across northeastern Virginia, east central Virginia, and southern Maryland. So that's something to watch with the, especially with the instability and how close we are to that that surface low, that kind of short wave produce that extra lift. So definitely a very interesting setup across the Mid Atlantic here for sure. And here is our sort of radar, what the radar will look like here as we move on. Um, Sometimes the models during more of a damaging wind threat day, the models don't necessarily handle them all too well. So, what you see on this model run may not, you know, occur later throughout the day. I think the best thing to do during severe wind events, severe wind days, is to look at current observations, look at your radar. That's the most important thing. And for what I can tell, the radar and the HRRR, which is what is shown now, has done a fairly good job depicting of what's going on. So I will sort of use this today to have, to give myself an idea, but not um, I am not treating this like it will happen 100%. So this is around midday, 12 o'clock, and we can see our sort of convection band across central South Carolina at this point. If we take a sounding near sort of the Myrtle Beach region, um, we can see our sort of fat cape here, especially in the 4 to 5 kilometer regions. Our cape is pretty good. Mixed layer cape or precipitable water is good. Downdraft cape is in the 900s. That just sort of backs up the damaging wind threat we have today. Um, and we can see our SRH values, our shear values, not great at all. So if we move on, maybe another hour around the same area, or actually, I might have to. Yeah, and then again, sort of the same sounding setup here. We do have like the westerly sort of setup. We do have some turning once we get up to the 3 kilometer, but um, nothing crazy. And yeah, we do have just a messy sort of photograph there. So again, nothing very organized. Again, you'll have your, that sort of convection out in South Carolina will have that atmosphere to work with, strengthen, and we can see by early afternoon, we can see sort of that damaging wind threat exiting South Carolina, and then we can see some sort of isolated convection start popping up across North Carolina. And if we want to take a sounding, sort of across the east central North Carolina here, we have around 2,500 surface cape, 1,700 mixed layer cape. Downdraft cape is much lower, but we do have some nice 3 cape. Precipitable water is nice as well. Better shear. I mean, we're slowly getting our better sort of deep air shear values. So at the higher, the 3 to 6 kilometer range. So, but nothing serious still. Nothing serious. Just sort of your pop up scattered thunderstorm setup. If we take a sounding sort of closer to central Virginia here, um, again, nothing too serious at this hour. If we kind of Move on here. This is around 4 p.m. We can see that sort of windbag event impacting parts of southeastern North Carolina. But if we take a sounding sort of near the DMV region, um, one thing I can notice are surface to 3 kilometer SRH values are much higher, going to be um, more supportive of tornadic activity. We do have some pretty crazy turning in our winds here, especially at the surface. We're so close to that surface low at this point. We have some nice three cape to add on to that as well. So yeah, definitely a spin up tornado, quick spin up tornado across sort of the DMV, um, sort of northern East Central Virginia region, likely today. I would not be shocked to see a few tornado warnings across the region. But yeah, for the most part, that's sort of about it. And as we go throughout the evening, those isolated storms, scattered storms across Virginia will fizzle out by about 10 p.m. Eastern. And Monday we have a new risk for thunderstorms, severe storms, the Ohio Valley here. We can see that risk there, and again across the southeast, we have your just afternoon scattered pop-up thunderstorm. Nothing too crazy. Gonna be focused. More gonna be focused on the Ohio Valley tomorrow. Um, but again, um, nothing too crazy. Um, today across the regions I sort of cover. Of course, that what is going on? It's not working. Try to pull a different link here. There we go. But yeah, the risk area. Nothing really significant today. More worried about the northern sections, Washington D.C. down through like Virginia Beach, Richmond, parts of that central Virginia as well. More worried about this northern section. And then yeah, this is the main event today though, um, where most of everyone's going to be paying attention to, probably even including myself throughout the day. I'm gonna try to pay attention to it. Definitely a crazy weather day across the southern plains. So, and then here's tomorrow's sort of outlook. I may as well sort of introduce this. We can see that slight risk down in the deep south, kind of peeking its way here, and kind of up into the mid Atlantic, but southeast here. And then we do have that very narrow slight risk across the Ohio Valley up through sort of Erie, Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna have to make a video about this tomorrow morning as well. Definitely an uptrend in possible severe weather in the Ohio Valley in the past 24 or so hours. So, but until then, everyone just stay safe, stay weather aware today. And I hope everyone has a good day, and we'll be back tomorrow.